Hello, loves! It is time for another reading vlog! So here are all of the books that I'm hoping to read in January. It is currently January 1st. I have these two books to pick from to start off with. I am tempted to start this one, The Black God's Drums, because this one does not have an audiobook. I will have to physically read this one, and I think that I might just read it a little bit throughout the month, or perhaps I'll just read it all at once, who knows. And then obviously, because this is this month's book pick, I do also want to start this one early as well. So when this video goes out, hopefully there should be like a week or two before the live show. So if you haven't read it already, there's still a little bit of time before we have the live show for it. So get on that so you can join us. Let's, I guess, get into this vlog. The night in New Orleans always got something going on, my maman used to say. Like, the city don't know how to sleep. You want a good look? Take the cable elevator to the top of one of Les Grands Murs, where airship docks on the hour. Them giant iron walls ring the whole big miss on either side. Up here you can see the new Algiers in the West Bank. Its building yards all choked in factory smoke, and workmen scurrying around the bones of new built vessels like ants. Now I know I butchered all of those name pronunciations, but I think you get the gist. Beautiful writing. Hello, it is time for an update. Today has not gone as planned at all. I woke up this morning, was super on top of everything, did my sketchbook pages, ended up editing videos, like I just did a bunch of stuff that I needed to do. And then as soon as I finished that and was supposed to transition into like the rest of my day, I decided that instead of doing the things I was supposed to do, that I would just do a deep cleaning, decluttering. Okay, I don't know what possessed me, but I decided that today I'm going to go through all of my stuff and declutter and get rid of things. So let's show you the disaster that is my life right now. Okay, so this, not too bad. This was kind of what started it all. This is me pulling some things out, some of my old stuff. I'm going through bins, creating this. I did clear this area, although it needs a good sweep. So got all of that. This is looking good. Need to go through those again. And then that area is basically empty because everything is out here. Oh my god. Oh my god. What is wrong with me? So I've already got a bunch of stuff that I'm getting rid of. Those are boxes from before. That'll go back in my room. Those are books that I'm trying to sell, stuff that I'm going to try and return, and then the bins that I'm going through. And I'm also going to try and go through those. I'm going to try and go through everything underneath my bed. Basically make it so that my closet is nice for once. It's been a long time. And then I might try and do another pass out here. I don't know. I'm just trying to go through as much as possible. And it's great, but I'm sore, I'm tired, and I just have not done what I was supposed to today. So that being said, I did take a bath after that, and I ended up reading some more of The Black God's Drums, and I'm loving this so far. I'm currently like 48 pages into it. It's only 110 pages or something like that, so I'm pretty far along at this point. I really, really enjoy it. All of the darker skinned characters have been just represented in a way that I really appreciated, even though it's not necessarily the focus. I was just like eating it up when I would get to those descriptions. She'd be tall even without the evening heels, with black skin and hair turned a dark smoky gray. Her face is striking, as beautiful as a painting I once seen of the Queen of Sheba. She moves like she's walking on water, the roomy skirts of her ruffled blue dress wishing around her legs in waves. I love it! Hello. Okay, so I am just in bed working on the tarot card for the month, and Kiwi is just here getting cozy and comfy. She likes sitting on my lap when I'm working in my bed. I'm not reading anything right now because I'm still working on The Black God's Drums. I don't know, like part of me just wants to get through that before I start an audiobook, which means I'm gonna be a little bit behind on my reading until that happens. Good morning. So today is Thursday, January 6th. So I wanted to do a mini book haul. I guess this isn't super mini, but I do have books that I ended up getting for Christmas along with my book of the month picks for December. So for Christmas, I ended up getting Rosewater by Tade Thompson for my dad, which I'm really excited about because I ended up reading some of his sci-fi novellas, the Murders of Molly Southbourne series or duology. Really loved that, so I wanted to read a longer form trilogy of his, so I got the first book in the trilogy, and I'm really excited to dive in and see what it's about. Then I got Ace of Spades by Frida, Ibiki, Iamity, which I know I'm butchering. I have no clue how to pronounce that, so I apologize. But as far as I know, this is a dark academia fantasy novel that focuses on the Black experience, but in a fantasy setting. I really don't know anything about the premise or the plot of this, so I'm interested to see what it's all about. And my last Christmas gift was The Wild Ones by Nafisa, Azad, and I don't know much about this aside from we've got like magical girls going on. I'm thinking it's urban fantasy, which is totally my jam, but in all honesty, I don't know. Our girls may be witches, they may not, like I really don't know. So another one I'm excited to get into. Fortunately, all of the books that I had on my wish list were books by POC authors, so these could be future POC book club picks, but who knows. I also might save them for my tabletop TBR because I do have a prompt for books that are gifted, and since usually I end up reading those really quick if I do get any gifts, I don't really have any to choose from, so this is a nice little selection that I might save for that if that pops up in the future. Then for the 3 books that I got for book of the month, I ended up getting A History of Wild Places by Shea, Earnshaw, and this one I keep hearing about it, so I'm really excited. Apparently we have somebody who can locate people based off of like touching their objects, and there was some famous thing that happened and this person ends up investigating, but they end up going missing as well, and I think possibly years later or months later somebody else starts looking for them or something like that. So there's this like magic realism element, mystery, and detective thing going on. So obviously I know very little, but I'm really excited to get into it. Then I ended up getting Will, the memoir by Will Smith about his life and his career, and like it's just really nice to hear about success of Black people and what it took for them to get there, what their struggles are, what they've had to go through, and hopefully it'll be insightful and fun. All right, and the last book for this mini book haul, and also a segue into something that's going to be happening this weekend, is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. So this is a thriller novel based off of a situation where some girls go missing in a town or a city or whatever, and this girl's father ends up confessing to what happened to those girls, and he gets locked up, and many years later she comes back for like a wedding or something, and while she's there some more girls go missing in a similar fashion, but her father is still in prison as far as we're aware. So now it's her trying to figure out what actually happened, if he was the person who actually did it, if it's a copycat, what's up. And I'm here for it. And I'm also planning on having this be one of the first books that I read for my 48-hour thriller readathon that I'm going to be doing this weekend. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts, definitely check out that video because it'll go up before this video. Okay, so I just finished the Black Gods Drums and I loved it. I really enjoyed it. There are a lot of things going for it that I just really ate it up, and I will probably read this again in the future. I loved the positive descriptions of the dark-skinned characters. There were a couple of things that kind of put me off a little bit, but aside from those, I loved it. I loved this a lot. I really look forward to reading more from this author and kind of just checking them out a little bit more because I really enjoyed it. Now, I did do my first ever call pile system. I'll have that linked down below for people who are interested. On the 10-point rating scale, this is an 8.71, which obviously is really high up. I ended up having the lowest areas in plot and intrigue because as much as I enjoyed the overall story, I wasn't really here for that, as I mentioned. Like, it was interesting, but not enough for me to be like, yes, you know? I was kind of more enjoying other elements. The enjoyment I gave a 10, the atmosphere I gave a 10, the characters I gave a 9, the writing I gave a 9. The only reason why I didn't give the writing a 10 is because there was so much of the dialect with the dialogue portion. Some parts were a little bit difficult, like I wasn't able to piece together some of the phrases that the characters were saying, although most of them were fairly easy and I was able to kind of just like piece it together. But I do imagine for some people that may be more difficult. And then the last one was logic, whether or not the world building made sense, and I gave that a 9. Possibly could have deserved a 10. This is a novella, so it's not like there's a ton of world building, but I think it was fairly strong. But I don't necessarily know if I am the best person to determine this because it's just not something that I pay attention to unless there are glaring holes, you know? I loved this, highly recommend. My first instinct was 5 stars. Call pile, when you break it down, it's only a 4 stars, but that is a really, really good rating. Now that I finished the first book, I have these two that I'm trying to figure out which one I want to read first. I don't have any short books. I guess, how many pages is this? I guess that's what I should do. I should see how many pages these are. So this one's 373 pages. I don't know if this is the, that's it. Okay, so 370. And then the smallest looking book that I have here is the Lost Apothecary, 301. So I think this is actually going to be the one that I'm going to go with, which isn't either of the ones I was originally planning on. I was all like, oh, I think I'm going to want to read this Poison Heart or Cast, and instead I'm all like, but I decided the Lost Apothecary. And hopefully, because I'll be listening to the audiobook, I'll be able to finish it before the 48-hour readathon starts. Fingers crossed.
Beneath the ink strokes of my register, hit betrayal, anguish much older than my 41 years of age. One day, I began to rub the round bone in my left wrist.
After graduation, I quickly realized my undergraduate history degree didn't offer the same career prospects as James's accounting degree. He walked me to the end of the pier overlooking the Ohio River.
Good morning! It is currently Friday, January 7th, and I ended up completing the Lost Apothecary last night before I went to bed, and I loved it. So this is a story taking place in 2 different timelines. We have the present day timeline, which features a woman who just discovered right before her 10th anniversary vacation trip that her husband's been cheating on her. So she decides to go on the trip on her own so that she can sit with what has happened with her and decide what to do and how to move forward with her relationship. And while she's there, she ends up figuring out about some historical thing and starts investigating and looking into this just like historical information, trying to uncover the history behind it. Now in the past timeline, in the late 1700s, we have a woman who is running a apothecary that deals in poisons. She basically makes poisons for women who pretty much need to kill the awful men in their lives. And this is talking about how this came to be. It talks about some of the like current things that she's dealing with, and then obviously there are some things that kind of mix up into it that has to be dealt with, like that are thrown in the pot. So she has a couple of new things that come into her life that she has to handle, and you're going back and forth between these timelines, discovering different things from each side, and I was here for it, like 100%. I was super here for it. Now I do have some bias. I'm a huge fan of history in general, even though like obviously history is not kind to my peoples. But I love the idea of history. I love the idea of uncovering things from history, about learning about the past, usually smaller things so that I can ignore the horrible racism of the past. This book has no representation. It's just a bunch of white people, but I totally loved it regardless. The story was interesting. I was super invested. I really liked the atmosphere of the past section. I loved the intrigue and the mystery and learning things and dealing with their problems, and like I loved it a lot. Which I guess brings me to the next thing. This year, as I mentioned, I'm gonna try and be a little bit stricter with my rating system. So I'm using Bookro's Caw Pile system, which stands for characters, atmosphere, writing, plot, intrigue, logic, and enjoyment. And basically you rate on a 10 scale rating system each of the different areas of the book, and then it, you know, adds all of that up, and based off of how that turns out, you end up getting a 5-star rating. This is my first 5-star of the year. I ended up getting a 9.14 total, which ends up being a 5-star. I gave the characters 9 stars. I thought they were pretty strong. I was pretty intrigued with them. The atmosphere was an 8. I don't really think this is a book about atmosphere, but it did have some pretty strong atmosphere in the past tense portions. And then the writing was fine, so it was a 9. The plot was a 10. I was really into it. Intrigue was a 9. I almost want to say those should probably be flopped because I was more intrigued than the plot may have needed, because I do think some things were predictable, but I was just still here for it. Like, that wasn't why I was so intrigued. The logic was a 9 and my enjoyment was a 10. So I friggin' loved it. So that's where we're at right now. I did fill out the information in my tabletop TBR page tracker, which will be helpful at the end of the month when I add everything up. And then I also filled out that stuff in my little book journal, which I included at the back of my traveler's notebooks, because I thought it would be nice to have a place where I can write out my thoughts as I'm reading. And then, you know, like at the end of the month, I can then put all of these things into like Goodreads or Storygraph or something like that, so that I can track it there as well. I'm feeling good right now. On a side note, today we're going to be starting the 48-hour thriller readathon that I'm going to be doing this weekend. So I'm actually torn because I don't have a ton of meetings today. So part of me wants to listen to an audiobook, but the other part of me is like, will I be able to finish another book before I'm supposed to start the readathon? And maybe I should like relax before the readathon. So I think I'm just going to wait until the readathon, and then we're going to try and read as many books that we can in the next 48 hours. That's gonna be fun. Okay, I did it. I just completed the 48-hour thriller readathon. I read all of these. It was a wild ride, so I will have that video linked down below if you're interested in seeing my thoughts on these. Good times. Good times. That's all I'm gonna say. Good times. But I'm kind of thinking that I might save This Poison Heart for later in the month, so that I have fresh mind when the actual live show happens, because if I do it in the beginning of the month, then there's going to be like almost 2 months between when I read it and when we talk about it. So I'm actually going to hold off on this. These are the books that I'm hoping to read in the latter half of the month. I did so much reading right now though. We'll see how this goes. And some of these might change, so I may or may not read this one. We'll see. Okay, so I thought for the end of this reading vlog that it would be fun for me to put together my graveyard selections, which I end up using for some of my tabletop TBR picks. And also, basically what I'm trying to do is all of the books that I don't love the covers, and I would rather have either just digital versions of them or just not have them, I'm gonna put in the graveyard so that it will encourage me to read them quicker so I can either sell them if I don't love them or decide something. So this is my current graveyard. These are books that I feel like I wouldn't be super upset if I had to get rid of. I'm going to continue with that vein and add more to this area. As you can see, it's larger, so I'm probably going to stack them. Okay, so this is where it's at currently. Not perfect. I just wanted to have a general idea of books that I want to get to a little bit quicker that maybe aren't the ones I'm the most excited about, so that I could unhaul some of them, in all honesty. Are a mixture of books that I'm really excited for. There are some books down here that I'm pretty excited for, but I don't really love the covers. I don't really like the way they look. This particular edition may be damaged. Like How Does the Sun Rise? My copy came with a damaged cover because I got it at Book Outlet, so it was discounted. Because that's another thing with some of these as well. If I love the book so much, I might keep it even if I don't love the cover. So I did it. That's it. 13th, and these are all of the books that I read so far. These two we ended up getting into this vlog along with some mini book hauls, and these I ended up doing in a separate video for my 48-hour thriller readathon, which I guess I'll have linked down below. It's been a really good month so far. We do have a couple of books left from the TBR, and I'm hoping to do a couple of other extra books to hopefully make the next vlog a little spicier, so stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff. Include this emoji in the comment section down below to let me know that you made it this far, and I will catch you in the next video. Until then, bye!